What's up, everybody? Thralls here once again. I'm Necrotic.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have yet another album review for you, and one that kind of just picked at random because it's the band's first full length, and, well, it's Finnish death metal, and those three words generally mean I'm interested.
Yeah.
So we are going to go over the debut full length from Unearthly Rites, Ecdysis. This comes out on the 3rd of May on Prosthetic Records. This band formed in 2020 in Finland. This is their first full length. They do have a self-titled EP that came out in 2021, and I know very little about this band. Like, they are very new. Again, I just saw Finnish death metal, and, well, I bit.
Yep, I've never heard of them either. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, I was at work today, and something we were going to review, we found out came out earlier in the year, and we were like, all right, well, let's go for Unearthly Rites. And I said, who's that band? And Nick said, I don't know. And so I listened to it while I took out the trash, and I was like, okay, well, here we are.
Yeah, I like taking a chance every now and then, going over something that neither one of us have ever heard, just to see what they're all about. And this was definitely an interesting listen for a number of reasons. Namely, the fact that this has got to be the loudest, most gristly, dirty-sounding album I think I've listened to this year. And that isn't to say, like, in terms of, like, flat-out heaviness and all that stuff. Like, it's definitely heavy. But the production on here almost hurts.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. My ears are ringing. And for quite some time after we finished listening to it, I mean, we went outside. Like, my ears were full-blown ringing.
If you've ever gone to, like, a shitty club that has, like, a sketchy PA and your buddy's band's playing, and they just decide, like, well, fuck it, we're just going to dime it. This PA's trash anyway. Let's see if we can finally destroy it. It's like that. Like, everything's dimed. Everything is hyper distorted. And this is just such a just caustic listen. Mm-hmm. Like, and I feel like I've used caustic to describe so many things on here. This is exactly what the definition of caustic is. Like, this is just harsh, abrasive, noisy, and kind of difficult to listen to. And it starts immediately with the intro hellscape, which I'm just going to go ahead and say, skip it.
There's not a lot going on there other than feedback.
Walls of it.
Yes.
Like, it is so dense and thick, and there's this constant sizzle and din in the, I would say background, but it's right out in front, and that's kind of across the entire album. Remember a while ago when Pig Destroyer put out Headcage, and the opening track was designed to be noise frequencies to cause anxiety and feelings of dread? It's that, except magnified and possibly even louder, and then by the time you get into deep drilling Earth's crust, it just stomps in with this just absolutely raw, disgusting production. Like, describing the guitars and bass on here, I mean, it's almost like one dense layer of noise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just super fuzzy, super grimy, but, like, not in a listenable way. I hate to say that, but, like, you just can't hear anything. And it's so loud that it's drowning out the drums, which is bizarre because the record was mixed by the drummer.
Yeah. And, I mean, it isn't as though the drums aren't loud, because everything on this album is loud. It's just that they are very indistinct. Like, the cymbal crashes being as loud as they are, mix into that wall of, like, crackling and hissing in the background. And same thing with the snare. Like, it's very loud and percussive, but it's indistinct. And that's kind of the issue on here is, well, you can occasionally make out riffs and vocals. It's really hard to make out any, like, riff progressions, like the actual melody behind it, because, again, it's just buried in this just harsh static the entire time.
I will say the vocals you can hear, the vocals are pretty unhinged. In fact, I really like that because at any given time, it goes from growls to screams to yelling, just like all the time. It's a constant whirlwind of different vocal presentations, and, like, I really do like that.
Yeah, I mean, the first track, Deep Drilling Earth's Crust, like, you get these, you know, like, very just, like, kind of like cute vocals, and again, with the production, they're also, like, reverbed, and they're, like, distorted as hell. But then there's, like, a grindy section that comes up with, like, almost kind of like punky blast beats. And whoever is doing the vocals is absolutely losing their mind. Like, it is the most unhinged performance, I think, on this entire album, which definitely says a lot. And stylistically, I don't know if I would call this entirely death metal. There's definitely death metal elements on here. And, I mean, noise, you could definitely throw in, like, you know, bands that just love feedback and noise, like, you know, Unsane and stuff like that. But there's a lot of other elements... But there's a lot of other metal styles on here. Like, I definitely get a lot of sludge metal, and I'm talking like stuff like Buzz Oven and I Hate God, The Master's Tool, New Venus, Fuck Eco-Fascism. Their themes are really interesting because, you know, I look at a lot of these song titles and I see stuff that, you know, Gojira would probably talk about in terms of, like, you know, ecosystems and maybe not treating our planet like a giant dumpster. But there's also a lot of socio-political stuff. And, I mean, honestly, it kind of matches up with the vibe because, like, this whole album kind of feels like a punk band wrote a death metal album.
Yeah, and outside of that, there's a bunch of death doom, too. In the title track, in Capital Oceanic Nightmares, in the last track, Doomed. Tons of death doom, like, akin to, like, Incantation. I even get some Undergang vibes.
Yeah, I mean... I could definitely hear, like, Undergang at their slowest because, I mean, like, rotten, disgusting production is 100% Undergang's thing.
But the problem is that you can't hear it too often. Like, it's there, you can make it out, but it's so covered by noise that you're just like, ah.
Yeah, and, like, some tracks do stand out, especially when they kind of drop out at least, like, a bit of the noise, and I think a lot of the noise is generated by feedback from the bass. The bass sounds like it's being played through a broken amp on a broken speaker, and the bass is broken too. Everything's broken.
It sounds like the speakers in my very first car before I get rid of it. Like, everything was blown, it was just like...
Yeah.
Like that.
It sounds like it's being recorded while it's submerged in electrified molasses. It sounds... kind of horrible, honestly. But there are moments where it kind of drops out just enough for you to actually kind of pick up on a riff and pick up on a melody. New Venus, in particular. Yep. There's a great chuggy riff on there that kind of just propels us at a lumbering pace. You can kind of make it out a little bit more. And surprisingly, the bass gets a little bit warmer there.
And some gross tremolo melody, too. There's that all over this, too. In Sacrifice Zones, there's a bunch of gross tremolo. It's so hard to describe because this is actually really cool if I could hear it.
Yeah.
If this was mixed a little bit better, this would be a pretty gnarly record.
Yeah, no, there's tons of good songwriting tropes on here. And, I mean, if you're a fan of old school death metal, you'll definitely pick up on a lot. And again, even a fan of, like, sludge metal, too.
Yep.
And I think at least some of those sludge metal and death doom elements are a little bit more tolerable when they kind of drone on riffs. But when they pick up the pick speed and start chugging it up a little bit more, it's bad. Like, nails on a chalkboard, except, like, to the rhythm of a tremolo. It hurts after a while. Doomed, I think, was one of the best songs on here, namely because it relied more heavily on droning riffs. Just let that one chord sustain for a while the front woman, I'm not entirely sure. There is a woman in here, but I don't know if she does vocals. But either way, the vocals come out a little bit more clear because you get this big, droning, sustained, heavy just thing in the background that isn't just ear-bleeding noise for a moment. Because every single layer of this album is just drenched in distortion and then sonically deep-fried. It sizzles and crackles so constantly that it becomes kind of a distraction. Like, I'm trying to, like, navigate through a sea of static to find something to hold on to a little bit more. And it sucks because whenever it goes fast, like, it kind of has this cool grindy energy to it. Like, I picked up some stuff in here that reminded me a lot of Repulsion, but I can't really hear it very well.
Yep. And that was my problem, too, with about 97% of this record, was that static and that buzz, and it's just so overpowering that even in the Unga Bunga moments, and there's a bunch of them, there's tons of Unga Bunga moments on here, and it sucks that you can't hear them. It's just buried, and it's almost too hard to listen to. And I don't know if I've ever said those words, but...
I feel like my brain is full of hornets.
Yeah, dude, it's like, still, my ears are still...
And this is the kind of death metal I generally gravitate towards. Like, I love raw, ugly, just filthy-sounding, ooga-booga caveman death metal. And this one actually has, like, some different themes on it, too. which I think is kind of cool. Like, it's not just your standard, like, gore and horror tropes. Like, oh, there's some actual meaning behind these lyrics. Again, kind of makes me feel like, this band maybe more rooted in punk. Either that or this band is a war metal band posing as a death doom band. I don't know. But it'd be awesome if I was able to hear it, because I just don't get this production. Like, and I don't think it was an accident. Like, part of me thinks, like, no, they wanted this thing to sound as caustic and as harsh as possible. And, I mean, if that was the goal, then mission accomplished.
Right.
But at the same time, it takes away from, like, the listenability of this album. Like, I will never listen to that intro track ever again. That is just harsh and ear-bleeding noise. There's no point to it. And I dig on intro tracks that aren't that.
Right.
Believe me, this is the most skippable intro track in the history of intro tracks.
Well, plus it's longer than it needs to be. It's almost 2 minutes long of just feedback.
Dude, it's like getting waterboarded by sound.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, I feel like there is, like, good music buried under a mess of just static and filth and sludge and, like, guts of some kind, probably oil, eels, I don't know. Whatever sounds horrible, it's there. I don't know how much I would actually come back to this because of just this production. Like, it has its moments, but its moments are just really hard to just pick out because, man, this is a harsh listen. So overall, I'm going to give this 2 stars. While I think this is good, even if the production was cleaned up, or at least just, like, done at a, rotten, grisly way that's more listenable, I don't think, this production is hiding enough for me to, like, push up the score that much. It's good death metal. I definitely have some standouts on here, but, man, this production on here makes this just harder than hell to get through. Like, this is just sonic torment. I mean, if they were going for, like, the most visceral sounding album they possibly can make, congratulations, you did it. Don't try to push any farther.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, because you got it. You nailed it. First try. Unless the EP sounds like this too, then bravo on a full length. There's some solid riff work. The Death Doom breakdowns are particularly heavy, and I kind of like the maybe unintentional nods to I Hate God and Buzz Oven. But yeah, overall, like, I just honestly won't come back to this because it is such a noisy mess of an album. But again, if you like bands like, I mean, I guess I can hear some Incantation in there, Father Befouled.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Just noise and grind and machines dying.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to describe this other than a cacophony of hellish noises on a CD or streaming. I don't know, however you choose to listen to this or not. I don't know. Just check it out. Why not?
I'm going to have to agree with Sir Nicholas here. It's definitely a 2. I'm relatively certain I'm not going to come back and listen to this, mostly because it was unlistenable the first time. And I hate to say that, but like it gave me a headache. Like, my ears are still buzzing. Like, it is like I went to a crappy club and got drunk and just leaned up against the PA and I was like, no, it's fine. Your ears are bleeding. No, I'm fine.
Supposed to do that.
Right. Don't get me wrong. There are some good riffs in here. It is very heavy. It is very, like, meat and potatoes, really simplistic old school death metal for a majority of the time, with some death doom mixed in. And normally those 2 things are things that I would rant and rave about and praise a record for, because who doesn't love nasty, grimy riffs? If I could actually hear it, it may be compared to things like I Hate God and Crowbar and Incantation, Undergang, Mortician. Like, a bunch of that is in there, but it's so goddamn loud. Like, turn down the fuzz on everything, turn down the cymbals. I guarantee that at least 40 to 50% of that noise is from the cymbals.
Instead of the bass.
Or the bass, yeah. It's just loud, and it's uncomfortably loud. As heavy as it is, the kind of noise that emitted from the speakers makes me not want to go back to it. And that's a shame, because I think this band is pretty talented at what they're doing. Like, once again, it's definitely heavy, it's definitely full of chug and things that I love, but I can't hear it.
I legit thought this broke my speaker. Like, I would have been mad. Like, 'cause the more I listened to it, I was like, dude, is the speaker going? We just got this thing.
Well, and I asked him while we were jamming it too. I said, "You want me to turn it down a little bit?" Because both of us were like, "Holy shit!" And he was like, "No, because if you turn it down, then we can't hear it." And I mean, you already can't hear it. And again,
we double couldn't hear it.
Yeah, and we spent a majority of the time going, "Huh?
Yes. What?"
But anyway, if you're a fan of any of the bands that I mentioned and you want to test this out for yourself, I recommend doing it. Like, you can give it a chance. Maybe it's just us. Maybe we're old. Maybe our ears are shot. Hell, my ears have been shot since I saw Pantera in the 90s. So, I mean, who the hell are we? But check it out for yourself. It's 2 stars for me. I probably won't go back to it, but here we are.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there's a link down below to thrallsmetal.com. Our Patreon link is there. It is also on our channel up in the banner in the bottom right-hand corner. But if you're looking for Thralls Metal stuff, you have to go to thrallsmetal.com. We have t-shirts, both old and new. The old ones are discounted, provided we have your size, and we even have hats too. So if you're looking for any of that stuff, click the link down below.
Tons of stuff coming from Thralls of Metal, album reviews, discography rankings. I'm sure we're going to do some live show recaps, as well as you'll probably see some shorts coming from Maryland Death Festival, because, god damn it, that's going to be awesome. Anyway, woo! Outside of all the things we have going on at Thralls of Metal, we really do keep going because of you guys. We appreciate all of you. Thank you so much for those that have liked and subscribed, and to our new fans, welcome, and to our old fans that still stick around. We appreciate you guys too. We couldn't do this without you. It's become quite larger than I think any of us ever thought it would become, but we appreciate you. Genuinely, thank you.
Yeah, this absolutely rules doing this, and yeah, tons on the horizon, and hopefully we're going to get the rest of the guys back on here soon. Everyone's kind of been busy doing their own thing, which, hey man, life comes at you quick.
Yeah, for sure.
Either way, this is the end of the video. I have to thank you one more time because you guys are absolutely awesome. So here it is. One more big thank you.
Thank you.
And we will catch you later.